Yeah, so who passed away was my mom, and I was about 4, maybe just a little bit under 4 when she passed away. And when she passed away, it was due to cardiac arrest, and she went down suddenly when we were at a family get together in my grandparents' living room. And I remember we were all like sitting around, and I think we were watching family home videos. I don't remember exactly like what we were watching, but something was on the TV. And okay, so I was sitting in my mom's lap and we were all watching the television, and all of a sudden, things were fine and dandy 1 second, and then the next second, I just remember her like going down, just leaning back and falling to the ground, and things just happened really, really fast from there. I remember bits and pieces of everybody kind of coming together. 1 second, my dad was doing CPR on my mom, and I remember him having to pull my grandma off of my mom because my grandma was screaming at her and, just yelling, like, Amy, Amy, wake up. And she was more hysterical than anything at that point, and I think just beside herself and starting to cry and just very, very panicked. And that was her daughter too, so very close relationship as well. And my dad was doing CPR. I remember my dad calling 911 at one point, but I remember specifically my dad's mom coming over to me and grabbing my hand and pulling me away and out of the room. So yeah, definitely. If anything, I think it made my relationships with my father and then my dad, or sorry, my father and my brother a lot stronger. And so growing up, I lived with my dad and my brother, just the three of us. And so a lot of testosterone, so there's a lot of sports center and, lightsabers and all that fun stuff. But yeah, my brother and we always got along, even from a super young age. And whether or not that was because of the death of a parent, I don't know, but we were always super close. And my dad and I have always been super close, and I think just closer with the death of my mother because he was my go-to. You have a problem at school, you have a problem, I don't know, with friends, you have a problem with boys, you have a problem with anything, and he's your go-to. So, and he's always been very open and willing to talk about anything and everything. So I think the personality that he has kind of couples well with why we're so close. But yeah, I'm definitely a daddy's girl, I'll admit that for sure. So, I kind of a two-part answer to that. I think immediately after my mom's death, the years following that, it definitely impacted me like social development wise. So when I was super young, I was a super chatty Cathy, like not afraid of strangers, not afraid to walk up to new people. Just as outgoing as you could get. But then I hit, the age of 5 through, I want to say maybe even 12 or 13, that time period specifically where I just kind of hermited for a long, long time. I was the girl that, I remember being on a swim team when I was super young, and all of the other teammates of mine would be sitting under a tent, like waiting for their heat, and they would be, writing "Eat My Bubbles" on their backs and making friendship bracelets or whatever it was that they wanted to do, waiting for the heat. And I would be just perfectly content, like sitting on a beach towel over in the corner, just waiting alone. And yeah, just a lot of socially awkwardness, and that's sometimes just a part of growing up, so you have to chalk it up a little bit to that. But I honestly believe that I struggled a little bit with the idea of getting close to somebody knowing that they might leave at some point, and that nothing's necessarily permanent. And so I think I held tight to my relationship with my dad and brother because I had already formed a strong attachment to them, but letting new people in is really where I struggled. So then fast forward to today, so I guess like high school through now, kind of my college time, I've grown out of that a little bit. My dad says I found my voice and I haven't stopped talking, but although that may be true, I still sometimes struggle with letting people in and being vulnerable. I love hearing other people's stories and their backgrounds and getting deep with them, but as soon as it comes to my own personal life, that's when it gets a little bit difficult. I would say no, I don't. And I think I premised that just because my mom died so young, that really a lot of my academics and my learning and growth started from after the age of 3.5, minus the basic motor skills and everything you learn at a young age. So, yeah, everything I have learned has been without her. So, hopefully, no.